Alright, so it's been a long time coming for this. So Dragon Age lore. It's a series I've been wanting to start for a very, very long time now. I essentially have been putting it off because I've had so much work to do and so much things to do, but I finally had the time to sit down and be able to record the audio, and I've been this has been in the planning for a while now, for about 4 months, and I got the audio situation finally hooked up. I got the music thanks to Ares. That was fantastic, and I'm able to finally set up a system where I'm happy with what I get. I originally made this video back in September, but the video kit came out was older. I didn't have my new mic. I didn't use my new mic, and I was finally done with it. And I just wasn't happy with the product, and I wanted to get something out there that was, you know, up to date, better audio, better visuals, better everything. So basically, now that I got this new style, I've been really working to make sure this is a good video for you guys. So welcome to Dragon Age lore, and we'll get enough with the introduction, and we'll just dive in deep into the lore. And today we're going to start with the Mage-Templar War. The Mage-Templar War, or also referred to as the Mage Rebellion, broke out in 940 Dragon between the Mages and Templars after the decision of the Fraternity's Conclave to separate the Circle of Magi from the Chantry following the revolt at the White Spire and Val Royeaux. Contributing earlier events including the 937 Rebellion in Kirkwall, a city-state in the Southern Free Marches, and in the dissolution of the College of Enchanters in 938 after the rejection of the motion to abolish the Circles. Now, following the deaths of Viscount Marlowe Dumar and his son during the First Battle of Kirkwall in 934, Meredith Stannard, the Knight Commander of the Kirkwall Templars, assumed control of the city, inciting discontent amongst both the citizenry and the mages. Meredith's sanctions against the latter became increasingly harsh over the succeeding years, while members of the nobility began to object to her rule of the city, many wishing for the main character of Dragon Age 2, Hawke, and who's also the city's champion, to become the Viscount. Meredith's sanctions against the mages were strongly opposed by First Enchanter Orsino, who publicly declaimed the Knight Commander and believed Meredith was losing her mind, who basically she saw apostates everywhere where none existed. Now, Grand Cleric Athena attempted to moderate the clashes between the two and refused to pick a side in the conflict. The Divine took notice of the growing tensions and the revolutionist presence in the city. She sent an agent to assess the danger and warn Athena to leave Kirkwall, though the Grand Cleric was unwilling to abandon her flock. Tensions reached a peak and exploded into violence due to the actions of apostate Anders in 937. During another confrontation between Meredith and Orsino in Lowtown, Anders declared that he would no longer allow the Templars to persecute mages and caused an explosion that destroyed the Kirkwall Chantry and killed all those inside. The Grand Cleric was included in this, thus removing the possibility of a compromise. Furthermore, as Anders did not contain the explosion, deadly debris from the blast also rained down on the other half of Kirkwall, creating more chaos. Claiming that the people would demand blood, Meredith immediately invoked the right of annulment, and the champion was forced to pick a side during the conflict. The city erupted into chaos as mages and Templars clashed, some of the former resorting to blood magic, becoming abominations and unleashing demons into the streets. The violence culminated in a confrontation at the gallows. The city's Circle of Magi ended with the most of Kirkwall's circle, including First Enchanter Orsino, dead. Meredith's Knight Captain and the rest of her Templars turned on her when she attempted to execute the champion, revealing the extent of her instability, and accused them of seeing Blood Mage thralls. Of all of them being Blood Mage thralls, sorry. Ultimately, she became petrified when she attempted to draw too much power from the red lyrium sword that she had. While Templar reinforcements arrived at Kirkwall to suppress further resistance, news of the escaping mages of what had occurred spread to the other circles. Outraged that the Templars of Kirkwall would invoke the right of annulment to justify the extermination of an entire circle for the crimes of one apostate, some of the circles revolted, while others were close to doing so. In response, the Templar Order cracked down, further restricting mage freedoms in an attempt to quell further disturbance. Despite this, their College of Enchanters, meeting for the last time in Cumberland before they disbanded in 938, voted against succession from the Chantry at the urging of the Senior Enchanter Wynne, in opposition to the motion tendered by the newly elected Grand Enchanter Viona. Nonetheless, Many of the libertarian faction who wished for independence continued to encourage the mages to rebel. Fearing the possibility of a Mage-Templar conflict igniting within Orlais, Empress Celine I appealed to the Divine to take action and end the war before it began, and before she would be forced to utilize her own military to fight against the mages within her own empire. Among the White Spire Circle in Valerio, tensions continued to mount throughout the following year. The Divine Justina V sought to use her position to reform the Circle of Magi and thereby bring an end to the Troubles, but was hindered by both the Templars and the Mages, culminating with Jeannot, one of the White Spire senior enchanters, attempting to assassinate her in 939 Dragon. Despite her mage-sympathetic views in response, Lord Seeker Lambert took control of the White Spire Circle and its Templar contingent in order to attempt to bring the matter under control. Archmage Wynne, acting on Justina V's personal orders, took her estranged son Rhys, a senior enchanter of the White Spire, his friend Adrian, and the Templar Knight Captain Evangeline to the Adamant Fortress in order to save her friend Pharamond, a Tranquil who had become an abomination. And freeing Pharamond, he told the party that he managed to find a way to reverse the Rite of Tranquility. Presenting this information before Justina V, it already having been sent to each of the 15 circles, and having strong objections from Lord Seeker Lambert, the Divine concluded that a conclave of first enchanters must meet, ostensibly to hear from Pharamond and discuss the findings. 11 of the 15 first enchanters who could make the meeting in time arrived, along with Grand Enchanter Fiona and Wynne, Rhys, and Adrian. Watched by the Templars, the Grand Enchanter nonetheless sought another vote to separate the circle from the Chantry. Before the vote could be taken, the meeting was disrupted by Lord Seeker Lambert, who was presenting news that Pharamond had been murdered and the bloodstained knife was found in the quarters of Rhys, attempting to disband the conclave. Unknown to anyone and everyone, the murder was committed by Adrian, who knew that Wynne would be convinced that the circle would have convinced the circle to vote against independence once again, thus forcing Wynne to abandon her position of compromise for the sake of her son. Suspecting that Rhys was being framed, the mages refused to stand down, including Wynne, and the Lord Seeker ordered his Templars to attack. At first, the mages fought in defense, but when a Templar killed a mage who tried to surrender, they attacked in fury and killed several Templars. Several of the first enchanters were slain, most were imprisoned, including Rhys, and only Wynne and Knight Captain Evangeline managed to escape. They returned to White Spire to rescue those imprisoned, along with the assistance of the Golem Shale and Liliana, an agent of the Divine. The Divine herself ordered Lord Seeker Lambert and a number of Templars to meet with her, a ruse to try to ensure the rescue would succeed. Now, Evangeline, Wynne, and Shale succeeded in destroying the Philocrates contained within the White Spire vault, including those of the surviving first enchanters, while Liliana led those imprisoned to safety. In an echo of the rebellion of the Kirkwall Circle, other mages of Whitespire rose up and fought against the Templar jailers, and by the time Lord Seeker Lambert returned to Whitespire, most of the Templars had been slaughtered. The surviving first enchanters, the Grand Enchanter among them, retreated to the fortress of Andoral's Reach. Most of the 15 circles rose against the Templars, with thousands of mages gathering at Andoral's Reach in the following months. It is predicted that with hundreds of mages manning the battlements, they could fend off an army 10 times their size. About a month after the Battle of Whitespire, a vote for independence was once again proposed by the Grand Enchanter. As several of the first enchanters were either killed or absent, the mages were represented in the conclave by their fraternities. While they vowed to whichever decision they were going to take, they were all going to abide by it, be it the submission or rebellion. The Loyalists insisted on submitting to the Chantry, arguing that they cannot defeat the Templars, an argument most of the smaller fraternities chose to side with. The larger fraternities, the Libertarians and the Equitarians, voted to fight, winning the vote, arguing that submission would impose harsher conditions for all Circle mages. While the vote passed, it did so by a very slim margin. The other half of the mages who voted against succession were soon forced to fight the rebel mages, and united under First Enchanter Vivian Derfer of the Montismard Circle. They identified themselves as Loyalist mages, wishing to reinstate the circles and end the war. Meanwhile, the Isolationist mage, true to their name, chose to go into hiding rather than fight. Now, in 940 Dragon, in response to Divine Justinia V's interference at Whitespire, Lord Seeker Lambert declared the Navaran Accord, which had led the Seekers and the Templars submitting to the Divine and establishing the Circle of Magi, to be null and void. Now, the Seekers of Truth and the Templar Order they command would no longer be under the authority of the Chantry. At the same time, this declaration, a large Templar host was about 3 days' march from Andoral's reach. The Lord Seeker predicted that once the Mage Rebellion was defeated, the Chantry would be forced to replace the Divine and reach a new agreement with the Seekers and Templars. Lambert vanished shortly after annulling the accord without a trace. Many Templars assumed he had been assassinated due to the Mage Rebellion in retaliation for his actions at Whitespire. Following the disappearance of Lambert Van Reeves, Lucius Corrin succeeded him as Lord Seeker and led the Templar Order in the Mage-Templar War. Well, with neither side under the authority and regulations of the Chantry, the Circle of Magi and the Templar Order, along with the Seekers, prepared for an all-out war against one another. In Riviane, at the capital of Derismuid, the right of annulment was invoked on the Circle there, with the Seekers citing that the mages freely interact with their families and training female mages as seers. First Enchanter Ravella led the defense using her skills she learned from her father, Captain Rivald, of the Felicima Armada, and the Templars and Seekers slew all the mages inside without suffering heavy casualties. Now, by 940 Dragon, the Andrastrian Chantry was crumbling, with over 900 years of relative stability shattered. All of the circles of Magi have separated from the Chantry, while some of the Seekers are known to have remained loyal to the Chantry and the reigning Divine. Others, as well as many of the Templars, had rebelled and left the Chantry oversight to hunt and fight the mages on their own terms. Some of such as the loyalist mages and Templars of Hasmal elected to maintain a refuge from the war instead of partaking in it. Other mages and Templars who wished no part in the fighting elected to join the Grey Wardens, who were willing to offer amnesty to such refugees on the condition that they undertake the joining after their arrival. Now, many refugees from the Habsburg Circle of Magi elected to travel to Weishaupt Fortress to partake on this offer. The Ferelden monarchy offered to the rebel mages sanctuary in the Arling of Redcliffe. The mages gratefully accepted this offer, however the Templar host pursued them across the border. Skirmishes between rebel mages and the Templars raged throughout the hinterlands, with the peasantry of Ferelden caught in the middle, fighting in support of one faction or the other, or merely just to defend themselves. The Divine desperately sought to put an end to the conflict and assigned those Seekers who remained loyal to track down the only two people in all of Thedas who might have the power and the influence to put an end to the conflict and lead the Inquisition. One of her agents, Liliana, was sent to track down one of them, the Warden of Ferelden. Meanwhile, a Seeker loyal to the Chantry, Cassandra Pentagast, who was also sent to find Hawk, the champion of Kirkwall. She captured one of Hawk's companions, the dwarf Varric Tethras, and brought him to Kirkwall. Interrogating him in the old Hawk estate in an attempt to discover the champion's current whereabouts and the true origins of the war, Varric said he knew nothing of the champion's fate, but said he highly doubts that Hawk is dead. Satisfied, Cassandra then took her contingent of Seekers and departed Kirkwall. In 941 Dragon, a peace summit was called by the Chantry in an attempt to end the bloodshed located at the Temple of Sacred Ashes, which was rediscovered in the Frostback Mountains a decade earlier. The leaders of both factions feared the possibility of a trap and sent emissaries in their place. During the summit, an ancient Darkspawn Magister called the Elder One infiltrated the Conclave and captured the Divine, using enthralled Grey Warden mages. He planned to use her as a sacrifice to power an elven orb he had acquired, which would open the fate for him to return to the Black City and claim the Maker's throne. However, an unexpected attendant of the Conclave interrupted the ritual and accidentally made the contact with the orb, causing a massive explosion that destroyed the temple, killing thousands, and sundered the Veil on an enormous scale, creating multiple rifts across Thedas. The largest part of these rifts was called the Breach, and the Veil's tearing caused legions of demons and spirits to tumble out. The only survivor emerged out of the rift with a mysterious magical mark granted by the orb that glowed with the same magic as the Breach and was found by the Loyalist Chantry forces. 3 days later, the survivor regained consciousness and was accused by the hands of the divine to be the perpetrator behind the breach. Though Chancellor Roderick wanted the survivor to be taken back to Val Rio for trial and execution, Cassandra gave the survivor a chance to prove his innocence, or their innocence, by using the mark to seal the breach. The attempt almost succeeded, stopping the breach, but stopped the breach from growing, but not sealing it. Sorry, it's a lot to cover right now. In the intervening 3 days, the people of Haven began to hear of a mysterious woman seen in the rift from which the survivor emerged, and thus assuming the figure was a prophet from Andraste. They then labeled the survivor her herald, and when the herald awoke, the Chancellor Roderick was still convinced of their guilt, but Cassandra believed that the herald was sent by the Maker. She and Liliana then invoke the late Justinian V's writ to restore the Inquisition, independent of the Chantry control, for the purpose of finding the true perpetrators of the breach. In response, Roderick used his influence in the Chantry to denounce the Inquisition, claiming them heretics for harboring the herald, which the surviving clerics declared blasphemy. The renewed Inquisition sought allies to help in sealing the breach, and the High Council of the Inquisition was conflicted about seeking help from either the Mages or the Templars. Now, with any attempt at a peaceful revolution destroyed by the destruction of the Temple of Sacred Ashes, the war raged on across Thedas. The hinterland region particularly became a site of fierce conflict, with heavy collateral damage caused by both sides. Deserters from both sides actively fought each other in the hinterlands. Rogue Templars supplied by lyrium smugglers attack the hinterland peasants they deem mage sympathizers or hiding apostates, while spiteful megalomaniac apostates abandoned Fiona's refuge in Redcliffe to attack anything that dared challenge their power. These extremists killed and pillaged anyone in their way until the Inquisition hunted them down and stopped them. This included mage and chantry personnel from other circles who were not interested in joining the cause, and whom the rebels slay in order to, quote-unquote, free them. With the Mage-Templar war wreaking havoc across Thedas, Raleigh Samson was able to rally some of the floundering Templar order and was made their general. Samson, having serving Corypheus and introduced the Red Templar order to Red Lyrium he supplied, Samson inspired his fellow Red Templars to master the Red Lyrium with the sole purpose of overthrowing the Chantry that cast them aside and make a world that was free of the Chantry's oppression. Meanwhile, Lord Seeker Lucius Corrin had gone rogue and joined the forces with the Order of the Fiery Promise to seek out and ambush the remaining Seekers of Truth. Lucius had become a willing accomplice to Corypheus and lets an envy demon ally of the Darkspawn Magister masquerade as him in his absence. The envy demon takes on the guise of Lucius and introduces Red Lyrium to the Templars, claiming it was superior to the Chantry Lyrium. Thinking that the Red Lyrium was just another tool, the Templars followed for the fake Seekers' orders, and the commanders of the Templar Order became corrupted and began corrupting the rest of their subordinates by force if necessary. Soon physical changes began to emerge, and red lyrium veins appear to manifest in the skin of those exposed. Thus, the Red Templar Order was born under Corypheus' control. The Inquisition later journeyed to Val Rio to address the clerics on the advice of Mother Giselle to place doubt in the clerics' minds of their biased perception of the Herald. Upon their arrival, an Inquisition scout reported a large contingent of Templars were in the city, and the populace assumed they had arrived to protect them from the Inquisition. The meeting quickly went sour as the revered Mother Havara accused the Herald of murdering the Divine. The Herald rebuffed her accusations before Cassandra insisted that the Inquisition wanted to restore the order. Lucius and his Templars then approached the stage, at which Havara assumed they were returning to the Chantry to put an end to the Inquisition, only to be humiliated as Lucius spums her. The populace and the Inquisition for not recognizing the Order's divine right to purge the mages, nor appeal to their political grandstanding. Lucius reaffirms that the Templars' independence and declares Val Rio unworthy of the Order's protection and departs. The Inquisition encounters Fiona and Val Rio following a debacle involving the Chantry's denouncement of their title as the Herald of Andraste and the Templars' refusal to return to the Chantry. Fiona asks the Inquisitor to go to Redcliffe to discuss a possible alliance. Now, the Venatori continue to operate covertly throughout Thedas to weaken any of those who oppose the rise of the New Elder Ones, New Tevinter Imperium. Now, the Venatori are a Tevinter group that is loyal to Corypheus. Now, basically, Venatori agents infiltrate the court of King Marcus Pentagast of Navarra, the Mortalesi, and the court of the Duke of Hunterfell. Meanwhile, the Venatori operating in the Free Marches began using red lyrium to poison the water supply of all human districts in Wycombe, hoping to blame it all on the Elven alienage, while they also manipulate the city-state's ruler. A Venatori assassin also infiltrated the royal palace in Denerim, hoping to kill the Ferelden monarchs, most of which these efforts were eventually foiled by the Inquisition. Now, this is relevant because in Dragon Age Inquisition, you have the ability as the player to either side with the Templars or the Mages. Now, whatever which goes, it doesn't matter where you decide where to choose. We don't have really a canon answer yet. I would assume that Dragon Age 4 will probably follow suit with what 3 did. It will make you have the ability to choose which side you go on, and they'll have 2 separate storylines there. Basically, though, if you help the Templars, it'll come out that Dalaran Barris will become the new head of the Templar Order, and he will dedicate the Templars to either helping the Inquisition, or basically the Templars will be kind of assimilated into the Inquisition as more of a soldier-based unit. Now, you could also recruit the Mages, which I believe is actually the more popular of the two to side with, and that's what side I normally choose with. I've done both. Now, with the Mages, you either kind of take them on, you kind of assimilate them in as well, and they work for you, or you can kind of have an alliance with them as well, and you work with them to have a greater Thedas, right? And they have an alliance with the Inquisition. They're not necessarily your subjects, right? So, regardless of which, the Inquisition was forced to seek aid from one of the factions, the Rebel Mages or the remaining Templars of the Therenfall Redoubt, in order to close the breach. Recruiting one side, the Herald was able to seal the breach, but the celebrations were cut short as Corypheus attacks Haven. It is meant to end the Mage-Templar War, but also starts a new war in the end, and that is the war between the Inquisition and Corypheus. But that is the end of the Mage-Templar War. I told you we have a lot with this, but that is all we have today. This is something I wanted to do for a long time, so I hope you guys enjoyed. This is kind of a test episode, or a test video to see how well this does, and I picked a pretty good topic that I enjoy. And I love Dragon Age. I played all 3 games. I've beaten all 3 of them at least 4 or 5 times, so I'm a big fan of this game. I platinum trophied Dragon Age Inquisition. I came close to getting all the achievements because I had Inquisition for my PS4 and I had Dragon Age 2 for my Xbox, and I actually came very close to getting all the achievements in Dragon Age 2. So there was that. I played a ridiculous amount of it. It's one of my favorite game series, and it's actually a series I've never seen too much lore about. So I've seen stuff on The Witcher now coming up. Witcher has become more of a popular one that I've seen a lot of channels start doing, and I've also seen a lot of channels start up on a couple other games. I can't really think about the top of my head right now. I'm putting myself on the spot. I'm like, oh crap, what am I doing now? I just know The Witcher has been a big series that people have started doing, but I haven't seen too much on Dragon Age, and I love Dragon Age. So essentially, here we are. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and if you guys have any suggestions for future videos for me to work on, please let me know in the comments below. If this takes off, it'll most likely replace Saturday for Elder Scrolls lore. I know that I have Elder Scrolls lore twice a week, but it'll essentially kind of fill in for that position if it becomes weekly. If it's not weekly, it'll probably come out maybe once or twice a month, and probably come out on Sundays, and we'll still have the Elder Scrolls twice a week. So that's probably what I'll do. I'll either have it so we have 1 Elder Scrolls lore and 1 Dragon Age lore a week, or we'll have 2 Elder Scrolls lore a week and probably 2 Dragon Age lores every month or so, or every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks is probably a good one. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, it was a lot of fun to make, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.